everyone, and welcome. I am joined today by my magical friend, Bridget. She is a spiritual mentor, a transformational coach, Reiki master, and boss babe baddie. And today we are going to be talking about people's favorite topic, manifesting, as Bridget is a master manifester, and she's going to be teaching us a whole bunch of new tools and techniques. How are you doing today, Bridget?
Yes, most excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm super happy to have you here as well. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, so I'm excited to get into it.
Mhm, mhm.
So I would love to hear, I know everybody else, what does manifesting mean to you? Because it can mean a lot of different things depending on whom you are speaking to. So what does it mean to you specifically?
Yeah, so for me and in ways in which I work with other people and teach other people, it's all about aligned frequency. Stepping into your most authentic self really helps when you are manifesting, and then connecting with the frequency or feelings of anything that you want to bring in for yourself. And so there's, just like there's so many different types of people, there's so many different methods, so many people have their own programs running. There's lots of different ways to navigate manifestation. And throughout my life, I have I've learned how to manifest through the thick of it, and now I'm retraining my subconscious. And things have already started coming in, but I'm retraining my subconscious to allow manifestations to come in with ease and, like I said, through the divine alignment. And so and those aligned actions. And so that's been a big shift for me, but I'm really excited to share it with others because it doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah, it does not have to be challenging and arduous.
Right, right.
How it feels sometimes.
Sometimes it's fun to do that to ourselves, but it doesn't have to be that way. So, helping people hopefully save time, so that they don't have to, necessarily suffer and slug their way through. And I will say, it's been interesting. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day. Um, younger people that maybe haven't had, I don't know, I could be speculating, but haven't had as much conditioning. I
Mhm.
know younger people that are able to manifest instantly because they just haven't been conditioned out of it yet, which is amazing. It's really gratifying to be able to see people being able to bring things in and just kind of have that skill from the get-go instead of having to have it and then like forget it, quote unquote, forget it, and then come back to it later in life when they feel like they've earned the right to do it.
I think that's a super valid point. When my son manifests things, he's not conscientiously doing it, but he's just, naturally doing it because he's more connected to his imagination. I make sure and highlight, you manifested that.
Mhm.
You made
Mhm.
that happen. So I'm solidifying that so he doesn't have to work through all of that programming that you and I may have worked through. Like, no, you quite literally manifested that.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing, magical. I
Yes.
love it. Hmm.
I love that you were talking about there's so many different pathways to manifesting because I think that people get stuck in like the procedures sometimes
Hmm.
of, oh, I
Hmm.
have to do it this exact one way in order for it to work. But there's so many different flavors of manifesting for people.
Mhm. It's really true. And, some people, well, and I think it comes down to their nervous system, subconscious, all those programs that are running, what
Mhm.
resonates for them can be a very significant driver in how it all works out. But, I have a client right now who's very methodical, and her nervous system feels safe in structure. And so when she's
Mhm.
following, kind of more structured methods, things are flowing in really quickly for her because that's what helps her nervous system feel safe and easily aligned to whatever she's bringing in. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's lots of fun and different ways that people can connect. It gets down to um, feelings, how you're feeling in your
Mhm.
body, and how you can consciously manage your resonance, and how easily you're able to do that and hold that through your subconscious beliefs, through your nervous system and how it's operating, and through kind of like 3D reality. And when all of those things can align authentically, everything can just flow in.
I love that. When I first started consciously manifesting, everyone was like, "Oh, you should journal, journal," and that kind of felt like homework to me. I never resonated with like the school system, so it was kind of triggering to my inner children. So we go on hot girl manifestation walks instead because
Yes.
it's very grounding. It feels good to me. I feel free and liberated, and so that's what works for me.
Absolutely. And I get some of my best downloads when I'm walking in movement because my body and my 3D, all the 3D stuff has something to do. This happens when I'm driving as well. people are driving and listening to this, or want to try this driving, just be sure you're safe. But when you give your body something to kind of focus on, it allows your, crown chakra, intuition, etc., to open up more easily. So you can kind of put an antenna up and kind of receive that guidance. It's like some of the best downloads I get is when I'm walking in nature, when I'm driving in my car. A lot of people have it happen when they're in the shower. Things are just kind of like relaxed a little bit, and then the information can come in, definitely.
Yeah, would you say that's kind of akin to being in the flow state, like finding something where you're being just very present in the moment and just inviting whatever is meant for you to come in instead of trying to force it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, again, I think it depends on the person, and you have to kind of work with your nervous system and what helps you. Mostly it's just like, how do you feel the safest, or it's safest to receive? That's kind of a, broad idea, but yeah, when you're in a zone, when you feel safe, and open, you can receive. And so, yeah, for some people, flow state, there's an artist that I follow on TikTok. Her name is Heather James Pond. I don't know if you've come across her content before. She's an amazing artist. Actually, she just wrote a book as well, but she talks about that, about when she's able to create art, she's in this flow state of, like, she's feeling, good and safe, and the creativity, comes in. It's like the canvas creates that safety place for her to allow that connection to happen.
Yeah, awesome. One, my next question is, where do people often get stuck with manifesting? But I would also like to more specifically focus on central nervous system and
Mhm.
feeling relaxed and safe in your body and in your external, like why that's so important to manifesting.
Yeah, I think people can get stuck if they're being performative. So if they're going through the motions of what they think they're supposed to do, like, I'm doing these things, so I deserve to receive what I want to manifest, or I've slugged my way through whatever, I've earned it, I deserve it, whatever. That actually is a way. I should back up a little bit, because when I was in corporate, I was, over giving and grinding and all the things, and my nervous system, although it was like totally fried, felt safe to receive financial abundance in that state, because I had belief patterns and programs running that, if I overgave and did the grinding thing, I deserved it, I earned it, it's not safe to come in. So, that's a very different kind of structure around safety belief patterns and programs than, now, where I'm, consciously choosing to live in alignment and retrain my nervous system to feel safe to receive in a rest state, away
Mhm.
from my computer, and that it took me a while to really authentically get there within myself. There were definitely points in time earlier on, as I made this transition, where I did feel it was performative, because, at the beginning, when you're kind of making a significant shift like that, or you're first kind of getting into it, um, doing the reps, just make even the possibility that you're actually consciously manifesting something feel more attainable, because you're kind of going through the motions to make that feel like a safe practice within yourself. And so, it's kind of a um, meandering question that you ask, because I think a lot of it depends on the person and sort of what safety means for them. And it can come through in a myriad of ways. If even if safety by my definition might not be the same as safety for their definition, it's sort of like, as long as within your body you're like, yes, this is okay to come through, because of whatever you tell yourself, or whatever belief patterns you have, it's okay to receive. It can still come in, but it might not be sustainable over time if it, comes through kind of harder channels and things like that, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And like, I think that's a good point of safety means something different for everybody. It can
Mm-hmm.
be very structured, it can be creative, it can be flow. I have also been working on in my life not having safety in overstimulation and burnout and anxiety, and attaching safety to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day I said, "Oh, I need to do all these things for my business," and got in a tizzy. I said, "I'm not gonna do that anymore, okay? Because that's not real safety." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I said, "We're gonna sit down and watch a fashion designing show because it's gonna help us with creativity, and we're gonna rest." And I said, "We're safe, we're good." And then I had a client book while
Yeah.
I was watching the show, whereas that wasn't happening when I was in that other type of safety mechanisms that weren't working for me anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And you'll expand and grow, and what might work for you at some point in your life, you will likely outgrow those methods and kind of move on slash ascend to better methods for your nervous system, for your body, and all of those things. So yeah, absolutely. Good job taking care of you.
Thank you. Learning in progress.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite things to help people bring into their lives? Because there's, a billion different things that we can manifest.
Yes. Well, what I have found, because it's something that I've sort of observed over time in my workshops, is sort of like themes. Because I mean, I have held space and given people methods so that they have been able to bring in, all the things, money, engagements, babies, jobs, promotions, red carpet events, like, I mean, all sorts of fun things, houses. But really, what I've enjoyed the most is watching people step into their own empowerment and their own
Mhm.
abilities. Watching people light up because they've consciously, done this thing and brought in this thing for themselves is the best. It's the best. I love it when it happens. And yeah, people that I've worked with have had a lot of success doing it. So it's been really like a pleasure to be part of that experience with them.
That's beautiful. And congratulations on all of your clients' wins,
Yeah.
which are also your wins.
Yeah.
Yes. So do you think that as an undercurrent of manifestations, because people will have very specific ones they're trying to call in a house, a baby, a marriage, a car. When we're looking at the undercurrents of empowerment and sovereignty and confidence, self-concept, do you think that those are not necessarily more important, but stronger foundations to work towards so that you can utilize those skills for all manifestations instead of just focusing maybe on this one 3D manifestation that might happen one time and then we got to start the whole process over again?
Yeah, 100%. What's been interesting is I'm trying to think. I was gonna overgeneralize and say for the most part, that's not what attracts people to manifestation. Building those systems, building those, structural, that
Mhm.
like kind of energetic scaffolding for themselves. It's they want the thing.
Yes.
And then the energetic scaffolding is like a super fantastic, bonus that they get to then also have for future. And so I have found with people that are, really plugged into the 3D still and trying to, figure out how to get out of it and start to raise their awareness, those 3D benefits help to motivate them to go through the work of creating that energetic scaffolding in those systems within themselves. There's this discomfort, and so this is the reward and whatever. So I agree with you completely. You tell me, I haven't really figured out how to market or communicate the benefits of, some of those systems to get people to sign up just yet. It's sort of like, I don't know. What's been your experience with that? Have you found that people are interested in, um, the nervous system regulation and in those sorts of things as sort of the reason why they get into manifesting?
Mm, I think that I kind of work on the same frameworks as you for the most part of like, hey, this is the end goal that we're trying to get to. And then on the back end, when I'm actually speaking with people, I'm teaching them the scaffolding, like the
Yeah.
importance of empowerment and self-concept and confidence.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's more about, hey, let's talk about where I can get you to. And then when we're actually speaking with one another, hey, this is what you're going to need to create forward movement. However, I
Mhm.
do talk to a lot of energy healers and coaches who have already kind of progressed
Yeah.
beyond the basics. And
Mhm.
so they are interested in central nervous system regulation and their self-concept because they know that those are the keys for
Mhm.
wider manifestations of more things. So
Mhm.
I think it depends on who your audience is, but I don't think there's anything wrong with, hey, I'm going to help you get to these goals because that's what's going to happen anyway. And then when you're
Mhm.
in the sessions with people,
Yeah.
hey, these are actually the bricks that we need for the house.
Yes. Yes. And that's, I reference it on like sales pages and stuff as like, tools and frameworks that are repeatable, right? And so that
Mhm.
seems to be like, oh, cool. So I'm going to learn some tools that will help me. And the tools and frameworks are the scaffolding, are the self-concept, are like, how we're repairing and um, adjusting the nervous system and all of those things so that they can get that foundational support within themselves. And
Hmm.
that's really where the empowerment comes from, is that they go through the process of creating those things for themselves, prioritizing those things for themselves. In my coaching practice, one of the most successful containers that I offer is, boundaries and balance. So many people are burned out because they don't have those things. They want those things. It's all about showing up for yourself and your self-concept, and like
Hmm.
prioritizing your needs and articulating those. And sometimes relationships fall off, and that's okay, but people will adapt and people will adjust when you start setting those boundaries. And that whole thing is about exactly what you're talking about. And then what I have found, this has been really interesting, is as people start to show up for themselves in those ways, their intuition comes online.
Hmm.
They start to manifest easier. They start to come to me and be like, hey, I'm interested, and starting to shift now into manifestation. So it's been a really interesting progression, bringing people who are, in the corporate world or otherwise, that are just, miserable in the 3D, to opening them up to their own inner guidance system, and then eventually how they're leveraging manifestation and starting to, co-create and completely create their reality. Mhm.
Absolutely. When you feel better in your body, like your actual physical body, you feel safe, secure, and grounded through regulation practices,
Mhm.
it makes you have a completely different experience in the world.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I cannot stress enough to people, maybe stress isn't the right word with the regulation, not highlight enough how much of a difference that makes, because you just make more aligned decisions. You
Mhm.
trust yourself. You
Mhm.
feel like the centering force in reality, and that everything is here to support you instead of feeling like you're being attacked or like we're a victim or our circumstances are out of our control. All of that just kind of falls away when you build the scaffolding
Yeah, that's
regulation practices.
that's right. And I also have found that when people get into this work, they have so much more presence. There's so much more in the present moment. When you're all fretting up here, half out of your body, about the past and future, and anticipating and, continuing to victimize yourself over, past traumas and all of those things, this is reaction zone. It's
Hmm.
centered and present, where you're like really powerful in your sovereignty, where you can, make choices and make decisions, and everything that you just said in terms of like navigating life from your power and from your centered presence, like that. You get more comfortable being in your body in this way when you start to
Hmm.
show for yourself. A lot of people aren't comfortable in their body. They're actually always trying to kind of escape their body, because body holds trauma. Da, 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 da. 3D is uncomfortable. Slugging your way through this experience is not always the most fun. But as you start to do this work, you start to drop in more. And actually, what I've also learned is you actually invite more of your higher self into your physical body as you do this work, which is such a cool idea. My understanding is, most people come into this life and they'll, incarnate 1 to 10% of their higher self into their 3D physical body. Some people might also refer to higher self as your soul, or, the part of you that's part of, the I am and all those things. But as you start to do this work, and as you start to expand your circuitry and your ability to, navigate and co-create and manifest, you actually get to invite more of your higher self in.
Hmm.
And as you do that, your intuition again expands. It's all interconnected, because you have that vantage point of who you really are, like outside of the human experience, and you have access to visibility into timelines, managing timelines, jumping timelines. It's like it's all of these extra benefits as you start to do this work. It's really fun.
I love it. Do you have a cat in the background back there?
No, that's Merlin.
Oh,
Yeah, he's actually a dog, but yeah, he's my familiar for sure.
cute.
He's up here helping me work. Yeah.
I like how they came in when you started talking about intuition.
Yeah, he knows. Right,
Intuitive.
sitting on my feet. He'll probably come over here at some point and start sitting on my feet. He likes to help
Cute.
me ground. Yeah.
So now that we have been talking about regulating and feeling safe in our body and being more present, how do you think energy flow and emotions come into play with manifesting or like being in touch with your feelings and your emotions?
Yeah, this is something that I love talking about and thinking about and connecting with. And so my background has been through energy work. I came up through, Reiki and, working with energy and that sort of thing. However, I have other people in other circles that have come up through, witchy woo stuff, which is really
Mhm.
cool. Somatic stuff, and shamanic things, and so it's all about, from my vantage point coming up through energy, it's all about aligning your frequency with the state of already having what you want. And so frequency, also, you can refer to those as your feelings, how you're feeling about it. And so bringing in the feelings, because let's say, okay, what do you want to manifest? $1 million? Great. Why do you want to manifest $1 million? What is it? Like, close your eyes and picture, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but close your eyes and picture, you have $1 million. What does that feel like? And so you start to explain that out loud. You say, well, I feel safe. I feel accomplished. I feel proud of myself. I feel expansive, da, 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 da. Okay, so those are the things that you really want. Money is a way of getting there, but those feelings, you can actually have access to at any time. You just connect to things that make you feel that way, or even the idea of feeling, I'm to a point now where I can think of the idea of the feeling and feel it in my body. Um, People who are empathetic can do this really easily. It's just kind of part of, putting out kind of your radar around feelings and what you're picking up around you and everything. So then you get to be in the feelings of what you want or what you think you want will bring you. And then that starts to radiate out. Universe, this is what I'm all about. This is what's important to me. I want to feel this, more of this. Please bring me more of these feelings. And then that's where it gets fun, because the universe is like, oh, cool. You want to feel confident, you want to feel safe. I'm going to send you all, not only this thing that you
Mhm.
can, but I'm going to send you all these other ways to feel safe. I'm going to bring you all these other opportunities for you to feel confident, and so the universe, it's not like the universe is there with a checkboard or like a checklist, okay, did this thing, okay, now we can finally send it. The universe is a mirror. It's just a mirror reflecting back to you what you're putting out in your frequency or your
Mhm.
feelings, and so the more you cultivate those feelings, the more it'll come back to you. And, that resonance of like what you kind of view, human beings as like radio towers, where you're kind of always giving off these waves of your energy, and more will come back.
I love that. I was speaking to somebody earlier and gave her an example of, let's say you want to put a creative project out there and you're saying, I want to do this so I can get rich.
Oh
That
boy.
project is going to be right. Okay, which has a whole thing.
Yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
I want to do this so I can get rich. And it's been a lot of pressure and anxiety on there and performance, right?
Mhm.
So that project is going to be very different from a project where you're saying, I am so rich and abundant that I have all of this time to create something to support others. Right.
Mhm.
That is going to be birthed in a completely different frequency and mindset. And I think that goes back to what you were saying of, can we embody the version of ourselves that has these things?
Yeah.
Because that's rooted in a, oh, I feel so good that I'm doing this for everybody energy instead of lack in striving and challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the same very similar conversation with a client like a week or two ago where she was like, I just want to have my side hustle doing creative things and make a bunch of money. And I was like, well, wait, let's just yeah. Um, do you have to make money from your creative thing, or do you just want to make a bunch of money? And she was like, oh yeah, no, I really just want to make a bunch of money. I was like, cool, great, because now we don't have to unpack that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the money. And if do you still have the energy that you want to do the creative thing? And she's like, yeah, but not as strong. And I'm like, even better, great. So then you can just create for the sake of creating, hooray. And you don't have to, grind that beautiful, creative, inspirational energy up with the pressures of capitalism and how money is supposed to flow in through that one specific avenue for you. So
Hmm.
it's a very clear distinction. And I would challenge anybody, like, we're so, I think as a society, so conditioned to, if we're not making money doing it, it's not worth it. And so then we like hitch whatever we love to figuring out a way how to make money doing it. And it's such a disservice to our ability to bring it all in. I very intentionally, when I launched my business, was like, okay, I have goals for financial, streams for my business, and that's great. Do I view my business supporting me the way that I viewed corporate experience supporting me? Hell no, absolutely not.
Right.
Because my business is from, abundance, and I love like serving people and working with people, and you know what I mean, like helping them on their path. Like absolutely do not want to connect that with my only means of income. I do receive income there, but I have other channels that are actually way bigger that are bringing money in for me that so much easier when you start to think about it that way instead and just separating the two.
Right, this is my passion project. If it makes me money, great.
Right.
I'm going to do it anyway because I love doing it, which ultimately ends up bringing you more money and clients because
Yes.
there's joy behind it.
Because you're in alignment. You're in
Mhm.
alignment with what you're really here to do. And that being in alignment, and I really truly believe this, as we are progressing as a society, feminine energy coming in, all of the things, that is really where I think abundance in all forms is going to start to flow in so much more when you're actually living, like really living in alignment and not just selling your soul for a paycheck.
Mhm.
It's just like, oof. It'll begin to be rewarded. Whereas in the past it wasn't. In the past it was, capitalism and all the rules and belief patterns that align with that and patriarchy and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
No, well, speaking of that too, there's a lot of belief work and mindset work that one continuously works through, especially when you're coming from like corporate capitalism, all of these different kind of systems. What role do you think that mindset and beliefs play in manifesting, just like we've talked about with central nervous system regulation and emotions and feelings?
You mean within those systems or stepping out of those systems?
Just kind of in general, more so like stepping out of those systems, because I know you support people with stepping out of systems. So maybe we could talk about the importance of mindset and beliefs for doing that.
Yeah, well, a nervous system for sure. Because when I made the choice to step away from all of that, I knew I wasn't going to succeed or manifest squat if my nervous system didn't feel safe. So what did that mean for me? I needed to have, so much money in my bank account so that I could explore, what it was going to take to retrain my nervous system, brain
Hmm.
program, et cetera, to be able to start bringing in, things in these new ways. Um, but yeah, when you are making those steps, don't fool yourself. Like, don't think that you just because you make this one divine step, everything is going to work out. Like, you're still a human. You still have a 3D body. The body is the slowest to jump on board with any changes. And so you really have to make sure that all the other elements of who you are aligned with the plan, and then you make it as easy as possible for your body to jump on the plan as well. And for me, that was, financial security, support through my coaches, and that I wasn't just like out on a limb by myself. And by doing that and surrounding myself with those elements made it easier for me to make that transition. But it's not easy. I mean, and I don't want to like program people. Maybe it will be easier as things, move on. But my experience, it wasn't easy walking away from all of those things. It took me, several months to, reprogram all of those things that I had been not in complete harmony with. Like, I never loved, working in corporate. It had moments and things where I was like, this is really
Hmm.
cool. I'm really excited to be a part of this. But um I was always stressed out, I was always exhausted. And so anyway, stepping into a life now where I never have to be stressed out unless oh, isn't it fun to create a reason for me to be stressed out?
Yeah,
That's
stress
so
yourself out.
I
Yeah.
forgot what that felt like. Let's try that. No, I still
Yeah.
we don't need to do that yet, but maybe down the road, whatever. But it just yeah, I just, creating the reality for yourself where, those elements aren't the driving force for your decision making. It took a lot for me to reprogram myself in that way.
What do you think that the turning point was for you to decide, hey, this is the type of work that I want to get into and help other people with, specifically with all the things we talked about and just manifesting overall? What do you think that was? Was it the burnout and the exhaustion?
Yeah, pain, which
Oh,
is a
pain.
motivating factor for, I think, human beings. I think it's, one of the main reasons why we ultimately make changes. But I had actually launched a spiritual practice in my early 30s. And while I was also working full time, but it was sort of like a side hustle thing. And it started to take off and it actually freaked me out. I was afraid of visibility, witch wounds. And so I kind of shut that down and kind of, went back to corporate experience and then also kind of more my personal development stuff in terms of my own abilities with my own teachers and things like that. But then this next round, I experienced a lot of success, quote unquote, success, promotions, whatever, really quickly. And it sort of like overloaded my nervous system to a point where I was just like, my body was shutting down. Like I knew I was on a fast track to something really permanently bad if I didn't pull myself out of it. And so, because I'm psychic and I had vision, I was like, okay, this is gonna. I had about a year and a half. That I was like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna take the next year and a half to set myself up for success. It was grueling, I will say, like launching the business and getting the training and working the corporate job at the level that I was at was like probably one of the hardest things I've ever done physically, mentally for sure. Um, but I just kept connecting up with future versions of myself that were just like, keep going, it's gonna be worth it, and da 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 da. And so now that I'm on the other side of all of that, I send those messages back to that part of me, that version of me, because if I didn't have that, I don't know if I don't know what I would have done because I you kind of reach a level, and then there's like pressure, like taking a step down, a break, that it's just like you just kind of get like tighter and tighter and tighter until there's like no room to really like make choices unless you like fall off and fail, which is a major drag. So yes.
Love that. We are sending appreciation to those parts of ourselves that got us to where we are here today, because girl, you
Yes,
put in that work. That's
yes.
yeah. Well, I know that you have a program coming up, Manifestation by Design.
Mhm.
Yes, your group coaching program. I would love for you to talk about why this program is so magical.
What I love about it is I've done it several times now, and I've done it with larger groups, I've done it with smaller groups, and everybody sees results. And so it's been really gratifying in that way. And, I have people now that took the workshop a year or two ago, and I see where they're at, and they're like, that workshop changed my life. Like, I mean, it is. So when you talk about, that energetic scaffolding and, starting to build these foundational pieces, that's the intention of the workshop. Anybody who you can already have experience with manifestation, but maybe you're spinning your wheels a little bit, or I've had clients come in that have no idea what really to expect. They just like the idea and they want to start to explore that part. Their intuition is starting to come online and they want to co-create with it and start to kind of
Mhm.
understand it and work with it instead of it just being kind of a sporadic, this happens, but I don't really know what I'm doing, situation. And so helping people to learn these tools that I use, every day to manage my energy, to manage energy in public spaces with other people, all of those sort of like personal energetic things we learn about. And then we learn these methods on different ways to help get clarity on what you really want to bring in. What are you really wanting to feel? What are you really wanting to experience for yourself? Okay. So we get clear on those things. We also touch on nervous system. We learn how to consciously begin to manage your emotions and transmute energy if you need to, do that. If there's stuff that, old program doesn't want to start to do something else instead of, running this old programs, we can transmute that, go through the process of how, people can do that for themselves. We do subconscious reprogramming at like sleep time and stuff like that to be able to start to reprogram subconscious limiting beliefs. And it really is a nice, holistic kind of launching off pad for bringing things in. And as I mentioned, people have brought in some pretty amazing things. One of my
Mhm.
clients brought in enough financial abundance that she was able to leave her corporate job, and start her own business because she brought so much in for herself. And what was interesting is she had actually been trying to bring those things in for herself prior to the workshop for a couple of years, but nothing had really landed. But then when we get together in community, it it just all came right in for her. So yeah, there's something magical about working in community. We have like a group chat, where we can share wins throughout the weeks in between the sessions. We meet every other week. And that too, I actually have a reunion with one of my groups next week because we had such a great chemistry as a group. And so when we were wrapping things up, they're like, let's get back together again, just check in.
No.
Yeah, and so we're going to get back together next week, and it'll be really fun because I think some pretty awesome things have come in for members of that group. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We build community, and there's also one-to-one time as well. There's a few one-to-one sessions that I offer for people to get kind of support on getting really clear about what they want to bring in, and then also identifying any blocks and clearing those so that they can bring everything in and navigate through that.
Right. So it's a mixture of group coaching, which I love community, especially with manifestation. The more people that are manifesting something, not even just for themselves, but everybody in a communal space together, it creates this beautiful vortex of celebration and accomplishments and hyping each other up. And it just really makes it a party.
Yes.
Yes. So
Mhm.
group of or a mix of group coaching, but then also private sessions that I get with you for more individualistic support.
Yeah, because everyone's navigating their own stuff.
Hmm.
And for people that are new to it, I have found that sometimes they're nervous. They're sometimes nervous about declaring what they really want for themselves, that
Hmm.
do they really deserve it? Does this really work? Da, da, da. And so having that one-to-one time has just been really important for them to get comfortable with their own power and
Hmm.
stepping into their own divinity. Yeah, so it's really important, I feel like, to give them that one-to-one support as well.
Do people have to have experience with manifesting to join the program?
No, they don't have to. Chances are good if people are in my orbit, they're probably curious about it. So they've either,
Hmm.
watching TikToks or, online, or maybe they've read a book or two and things like that. But it's not a requirement. We do use a resource book in the workshop that gives a really nice kind of background foundational information on the idea and the science behind manifestation and our connection to the universe. So the person that I mentioned earlier that, really likes structure. She loved the front end of the book because, or the front portion of the book, because it really gave her that sort of scientific justification for people that,
Hmm.
science minded and, want to have 3D proof that this is a real thing. So yeah, we really do kind of touch on all of that. So people can come in at any level. And if we find if you're in it and you have experience and you're kind of advancing, we can talk separately. I have entire containers around master manifestation. And so for people that want to expedite what they're doing or, really commit to their skills and their practices, there's support for that too.
Great. What do you or who do you think would be the best fit for this program? Like what type of person, what they got going on in their life?
Yeah. So I would say anyone that is dissatisfied with the 3D.
Well, most people in some instance, right? Okay.
Yeah. Are you
Yes.
unhappy with how things are going right now?
Yeah.
You're manifesting because you're
Yes.
actually in charge of your human experience. You have a lot more say than you might think. And yeah, it's time. So step into your power. I can help support you and let's get you going on your path because you don't have to. I've done TikToks around this tour and just like it breaks my heart when people say they're waking up from the matrix, but they still have to go back to their job and they hate their life and da 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 da. Da. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
I'm so sorry for people that feel that way because it doesn't have to be that way. All you have to do is find resources to help you navigate out, and that can be self-driven. I've got free resources on my site. People are welcome to them to help them get going. You don't have to pay anything to, investing in support to, expedite your efforts. I mean, I've been manifesting consciously my whole life. There was a gap in the middle during my child years where it kind of got shut down, but if I had had the, forward thinking foresight to, meet up with a manifestation coach in particular, like I can't even imagine where my life would be now if I'd had that sort of support earlier on. So it's worth jumping in on because, like I said, the people that I'm working with that are younger are bringing things in so much faster, which is really exciting. But yeah, you can be at any skill level and at any point in your career. But if you're just satisfied with how things are going, I'd recommend giving it a shot.
Absolutely. I always tell people working with somebody else is so beneficial, especially if it's multiples of persons, because you're so in your own situation, and that's why we're stuck in the first place, because we cannot see the map of how to get out of our circumstance. So having an outsider come in and say, "Hey, these are the things that you need to do.
Hmm.
Implement those, and you'll be good to go."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have multiple coaches and a therapist. So I mean, yes, it's great to have those support systems in place to help you identify those spots because you're right, you get in your own head, you might not see what could be really obvious to somebody else that, just saves you time, rather than having to do it all on your own.
Absolutely. I love that you also not only bring in the structural systems of manifesting, through goals, but also the energy piece of it.
Hmm.
Of let's
Hmm.
move this stuck and stagnant energy out of your body. Help you
Hmm.
feel safe and secure.
Hmm.
Let's process our feelings and our emotions.
Yeah.
Let's be in our imagination.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
all important key pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't bypass your inner energy systems. Like you can't fake anything to your central nervous system. If your central nervous system isn't on board with the plan, it's not going to happen. So working with it is essential to help it to feel safe and, welcome in whatever you're bringing in.
Absolutely. What is your most fun part of the program or the thing that you enjoy the most?
Hmm. Okay, can I say two things?
Abundance. Abundance.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
So my first is when people start to step into their power and get clear on what they really want. Like I love that process. I love
Mhm.
helping people to really dig into what they really want more of. It's such a self-discovery process because you really start to learn, like, okay, what really matters to me and my soul.
Oh, this is what I actually want.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It's so revealing and magical. And then we also go through an exercise, and this is towards the end of the workshop on subconscious reprogramming. But we go through this exercise that I learned from another, practitioner years ago that is so fantastic, really effective. And bringing people through that exercise is really fun because I can see the gears turning in their minds as we're going through it of like, oh, and then like, oh, like it's every like step is like another gate opening of like, this is how I can get clear, and this is how I can work with my subconscious, and this is how, I can bring it in, and just like having that deep understanding of how it works is really fun. It's really fun to go through that process with people. So those are two of my favorite things. But I really love it. I've done it now. I don't even know how many times. I'm actually contemplating turning it into a virtual course because I feel like it could reach so many more people that way. And I
Mhm.
do. It's just saved maybe a hybrid. I don't know, but has saved people so much time. And the testimonials, people are like, I wish I would have dreamed bigger. And this, yes, it brought in things, but this helped me to realize that I can have so much more influence over the trajectory of my life. I mean, it's just like, how do you, I mean, it's fantastic work. I love it.
Beautiful. Can you talk a little bit more about the logistics of how long is the program? How often are you meeting? When's the next round? And how can people join?
Yeah. So I'll be sharing links with you for wherever this is out online. Also, if people choose to follow me on all the social channels, I've got Linktree with direct link into signing up for the course. We're going to be kicking off the last Wednesday of August. This is going to be the last round of the workshop for this year. Um, and so we'll be meeting, it's a Wednesday. We'll be meeting from 6 to 7 Eastern time every other week for a 12-week period. So 3 months of coaching support and group support and the one-to-ones, as I mentioned. And then one of the other things that we do in the workshop is I'll be guiding people through some of these energy tools that they'll be able to leverage, for the rest of their life in terms of managing their energy. And we'll actually record those sessions so that they can go back and listen to the recordings later too. Because I have found people do really well when they're kind of guided through it. You can certainly do the energy tools on your own. Everybody does that as well, but sometimes having someone to guide you through it helps you to get deeper and, it's a little bit more effective. So those will be kind of gifts as part of the program as well that people will be able to take with them after the workshop.
Great.
Did I answer all your
And
questions? Yes, every other
you
Wednesday.
did, yes. And it's called Manifestation by Design.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put all of Bridget's information down here as well in the description box below. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, I really love that it's not just teaching about manifestation, it's completely restructuring the entirety of your being to set you up for success in every single area of life, not just manifesting, but relationships,
Mhm.
with your career, with your finances. It's helping you step into that next level identity or next couple levels of identity
Mhm. Mhm.
in a 12-week period.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And I've had people take the workshop more than once. You know, they've enjoyed it so much they've come back to do it again. And so it's the sort of thing that every time you have the experience, you get, the tools and everything on a deeper level. And so yeah, it's been really gratifying. I hope people join. It's going to be amazing.
I will second that. Bridget is an absolutely amazing teacher, mentor, and guide. Highly recommend. I mean, that is
Thank
why we're here today.
you.
Yes. Do you have any parting words for everyone on their manifestation processes in life?
Yeah, I would say everyone can do this. And if this is resonating with you, if you've listened this far, your intuition, your inner guidance system, your higher self, you're ready. You're ready to do this. And so if with me, fantastic. If not with me, find someone else but I would definitely encourage a group experience if you're kind of starting out because groups are just so supportive and amplify your work so much faster. So, yeah, I would encourage you to listen to your intuition and take next steps.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Bridget, for coming on and speaking with me and everyone today. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you too.
Yes. All right. We will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.